In today's video, we are going to be checking out a few of your guys' hot takes, reacting to them, and I might make this a regular feature on the channel where we sort of take three, four, five hot takes, maybe try and get a guest or two on for each episode, and we can speak about them sort of in depth. But this is just a bit of a pilot episode for that concept. So we're going to go through five of the hot takes I've picked out from you guys on Twitter, give you like my little idea, and then I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments on each hot take and what you believe about that take. So let's start with this first one. Enzo, so I've compiled quite a few of these ones together. So this one, I'll pop one of the questions up on screen now, but probably one of the biggest ones that we kept seeing. So I saw four, five, six comments about this was to do with Enzo and Caicedo, basically stating in different ways that they're top quality players, but they don't quite suit each other as a pairing. So in terms of a hot take, I don't think that's a massive hot take. I think the point with it is obviously they cost a lot of money. So a lot of people like to sort of like bring that as a hot take as to whether they're good enough, whether they're going to fill the void in the future, and vice versa. My point with it would be that I can kind of see from a squad building perspective, I've said this in the past, that maybe a lack of height and a proper holding defensive mid who is more stagnant and protective in front of that back four. I think with Enzo and Caicedo, they both want to move around a lot more, especially Caicedo wants to win his duels all over the pitch, not just sit in the middle of the pitch as a six. That's where someone like Lavia comes in, who's a little bit more of that sort of sitting six profile. So I do agree to that extent. One thing I will say is I think Enzo and Caicedo are both absolutely top class, and I think that both of them are world class potential players, and I have no issue with the signings of either of them. But it is obviously evident that the pairing between the two has to be accommodated from other positions on the pitch. So if you want both Enzo and Caicedo to work, other areas of the pitch have to affect the game in a different way. So you need the fullbacks to step up and protect someone like Enzo out of possession. So someone like a Vega for the future is somebody that can do this quite well with a very imposing frame and ability to step into midfield and protect that area of the pitch. So that's one thing to take into account. Of course, there's a lack of height with those two in midfield, which again Vega brings. So I think it's more to do with accommodating for them if they're going to play in a pair. But there is, of course, an obvious squad building lack of height and sort of ground covering and protective nature in front of that back four. So you can obviously point that out, and I don't think that's too much of a hot take. So let me know what you guys think of that one. Moving on to number two. Is it worth reintegrating Chilwell, who can hold width on the left for whoever is on the wing for them to drift inside? So this being Sancho and Kunku Felix. Now this is an interesting one for me because I think I was very willing to let Chilwell go, and I think in an ideal world he would have been let go. But the thing with Chilwell is if you're going to have him at the club, and you've let go quite a lot of midfielders like Leslie Gachukwu on loan, Andre Santos on loan, Lavia's been injured already again. So Vega may be deputising more in midfield than he deputises at left back. That leaves Kukurea as your primary left back. Vega can still play there, but Chilwell, he's the sort of player that I don't think is going to cause too much of a fuss. So he's already been slightly reintegrated into the group by the looks of things in training, and I can see him getting minutes at some point. If you're going to use Chilwell, the dynamic to use him in is the one that's been mentioned here. Him holding the width on the left, as we saw with Gusto when Palmer was coming in from the right. It would have to be switching those dynamics around, having Chilwell as the left width holder, tracking back into a left back out of possession, and then having the left winger with more of an ability to drift inside. So it could help Sancho having an overlapper. I think he's fine without, but it could help him. And again, it adds those little extra dynamics, especially for Nkunku or Felix if there's a player on the left. It really allows them to drift inside and play more as a 10 like Palmer did from the right-hand side. So yes, if he is to be reintegrated, that is the exact way to do it. Is it worth reintegrating Chilwell? I think yes, only for this season as an extra sort of pair of legs that are needed for the team and the squad in terms of if you're going to use Vega in midfield, vice versa. But I don't think on a sort of consistent basis it's worth reintegrating him. But from a sort of all-round perspective, I don't think it does any harm. So that would be my answer for that. Number three, young players let go are mostly better than the young players brought in. Now, I think this is a massive hot take purely because, and I rate a lot of the youngsters that we've let go in the past very highly. But I've tried to keep it more recent. Like, I don't want to go all the way back to like somebody like a Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because by the time we let him go, he wasn't young anymore. So, like, if we're talking youngsters that we've been letting go at a young age in recent years, The ones I've clocked on here, I've put Gurhey, I've put Hudson-Odoi, I've put Tino Livramento, I've put Lewis Hall, I've put Conor Gallagher, of course, in recent years. That was last year, if you want to count that one. Matson, Gilmore, Chalobah, he's going out on loan, but he looks like he's being phased out either way. So those being your sort of ones that you've let go. And don't get me wrong, I think they're all Premier League quality caliber players. I think some of them are like high tier. So obviously, for example, I think Lewis Hall's going to be absolutely outstanding. Matson, I rate really highly. Gilmore, I love, and was sold way too cheap. These play like Livramento's class. Hudson-Odoi is having a resurgence, and he was sold for way too cheap. Gurhey, of course, is hitting really high levels now. So these players are unbelievable. But then you go through the list of Chelsea players, and I've decided, because the wording for this one was mostly, I've decided to leave out the obvious. So like Enzo Caicedo, because I think when you're talking about players that you've let go for 10 to 20 million, and you're talking about players that have been bought in for 100 million at a similar sort of age, I think it's unfair to compare them to. And I think that's what you mean by mostly, because I think the quality caliber between an Enzo and a Caicedo to a, for example, Conor Gallagher, in my opinion, or Gilmore, or these players, there's a breadth in class overall. But then the players you brought in, I think there's a big sort of red mark over it, because you got some players like Washington, Cassidy, even Mudryk at this point, Wiley, who I don't know loads about, but from what I've seen of him, like he's a new signing of that caliber. Are they better than the ones let go? Probably not. So fair enough if you're saying those ones. But then you start naming the bigger names, or like the ones that are working. You got Palmer, who's brought in on that similar level. Of course, he's hit the heights. Santos, who's rated extremely highly. Anselmino, Esteval, Paez, all rated extremely highly. Um, Lavia, if he can stay fit. You got Badia Shield. You got Leslie Ugochukwu, who's really highly rated. Carney Chukwuemeka. So I think, of course, there's other like factors coming into play of injuries and things. But I think the value for value, I think that Chelsea have still got a better group of players now by selling those other players in terms of value and in terms of quality. Of course, in isolated situations, there's certain ones I would have kept, certain ones I wouldn't have. So it's understandable, this take. So let me know what you guys think of that one, because I think that's a really interesting one. Of course, I haven't named all the players either, so do name others in the comments if it helps your argument, but please do let me know what you think about that one. Number 4, we have best option for Mudryk is joining Strasbourg on loan. So I've sort of just like categorized this. What do we do with Mudryk? Now, I don't think this is a hot take at all, because I think a loan would actually do him the world of good. The biggest thing is, now that Sterling's not with the club, you basically got your 4 primary wingers. You have Neto, you have Madueke, you have Sancho, and you have Mudryk, in no order. If one of them gets injured, someone like Neto, who has had injury problems in the past, all of a sudden you have 3 primary wingers. That's not to say Felix can, of course, play wide, and Kunku, Palmer can play on the right. There's lots of internal options. Tyreek George from the academy as well. But Mudryk is one of the senior winger options. And if Neto does get injured, it's handy having Mudryk around, because then if Sancho needs to play on the right, Mudryk can play on the left. So he is an option that is still maybe not worth letting go. However, come January, when we sort of have a bit more of an idea for how many minutes he's getting in this squad, now that Sancho is looking like he's going to take that left-hand side to be his own, what will we see from Mudryk? By January, I think we'll have a lot more of an indication of what we're going to do with him. I don't think loaning him out would be a bad decision. Strasbourg, I kind of don't agree with. I think I'd rather him go elsewhere. Of course, though, that comes with its own caveat that you have to pick the loan correctly, because if he ends up going out on loan and not getting the minutes, then it's not worth it. Marseille is one that's been linked with De Zerbi. Again, if De Zerbi's going to use him, I think De Zerbi's system is perfect for him. So if he's going to get used at a good rate and you can make sure of that with certain clauses, then for sure, I think that's a good move for him. Bayern Munich was another one I saw touted. Not sure how often he'd play there, though, is my biggest sort of gripe with it. So let's see what happens with Mudryk. I'd like to know what you guys think is the best course of action for Mudryk, but I don't think that's a massive hot take to loan him out. Maybe the Strasbourg one being maybe the hot take part of that, but especially with the winger options, I think he's definitely fell down the pecking order. I still think he's an immensely talented footballer, though, and he has all the talent in the world. I think he just really needs to hone it in. And it could gaining confidence on a loan could be a really good route to doing that for him. So that could be a big move. We're going to end this off with a fun one that is definitely a hot take. And I love Enzo Maresca, but the hot take is Maresca will get a banner slash song at the end of the season, start next season. So I thought I'd do this one because it's a positive one to end off with. A song, I think, is very possible. Very possible. But the banner, of course, massive. Like, he'd have to do something crazy to get a banner by the start of next season. He'd have to win the Premier League, essentially. Like, it would have to, or like, it would have to be something of that amplitude. I don't think that's the right word, but magnitude. But I thought I'd end it off with this because I just wanted to have some positivity at the end of this video for Maresca, who I rate so, so highly. And I think he's actually done a really good job. I think a lot of people are on his back unrightfully at this point in time. I think he's been really good. I think a lot of what he's shown us so far has been excellent. So yeah, I wanted to end it off with that. Let me know if you think Enzo Maresca will get a banner or a song by the end of the season, song being a lot more likely. And also just let me know your thoughts on Enzo Maresca. How do you think he started this campaign? I've been happy with him. I know some people have been, and I know some people that haven't been. So it'd be interesting to see in the comments down below what you guys have thought of him. Let me know if you like this concept where we just sort of go through a few questions, little Q&A type video. Maybe do one every couple of weeks. As I said, get guests on, sort of have their opinions too. Let me know all of the questions, 1 to 5. You can put them in order if you want to. You can just answer one. But let me know in the comments what you think of each hot take. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. And next time, when I ask for hot takes, it will be on Twitter. So make sure you follow me over there so that you can get involved and put the hot takes up for us to react to over on the channel. Take care, and we'll be back tomorrow with a preview for the West Ham game before a things we learned at the weekend after West Ham games. That'll be the 2 uploads coming before Monday.